summer I've been playing a lot of Donkey Kong Bonanza on the Switch too, and I've realized just how good it really is. Not only because of the technical side, but because it's genuinely fun to play. It's pure entertainment. But the truth is, it also looks amazing, visually right up there with the best games of today. And that instantly reminded me of the original Donkey Kong Country by Rare on the Super Nintendo. That game was a graphical revolution back then, but more importantly, it had fantastic gameplay that made it one of the most enjoyable titles on the console. And that got me thinking about the Donkey Kong Country trilogy on 16-bit, and why it was the best one. Ready or not, here we go. When people first started talking about the new Donkey Kong game for the Super Nintendo back in 1994, this is what I knew about the character. But I never owned the NES. I actually knew him from this version on the Atari 2600. But it was clear that his 16-bit comeback, now in the hands of Rare, was going to be very different. Donkey was no longer the villain, he was now the hero, and the game had shifted from an arcade-style experience to a full-on platformer. At that time, the only game I really knew from Rare, like most people I think, was Battletoads. Which was among my favorites and had nothing to do with what they were about to do with Donkey Kong. So, what caught my attention at first were the graphics. Rare introduced this new pre-rendering technique that made the visuals absolutely mind-blowing. They were so good that the graphics alone could sell you the game. In my case, that's exactly what happened. I bought it mainly because of how it looked. And that was just from screenshots in a magazine. Remember, there was no internet back then, no gameplay videos. But once you saw it in motion, your mind was blown. Seeing that on a Super Nintendo was unreal. But beyond the graphics, the game had every single ingredient a good platformer needed. Great controls, collectibles, boss fights, mounts, secrets, bonus stages, you name it. My favorite mechanics were the teamwork between Donkey and Diddy, the barrel cannons, and the minecart stages. I loved everything about Donkey Kong Country. Even the underwater levels, which usually drove me crazy in Sonic, were actually fun here, especially thanks to the swordfish. In any trilogy, the first entry has the advantage of surprise. The pre-rendered graphics, for example, even if they were just as good in the sequel, weren't a surprise anymore. In fact, by the time the second game came out, even Sega had its own pre-rendered graphics game, decked them out. That's one of the reasons I consider Donkey Kong Country the best 16-bit trilogy, because even after losing that wow factor, the sequel still managed to improve on the original. The second game in a trilogy always benefits from the experience of the first, and when done right, it should be better. Donkey Kong Country 2. Diddy's Kong Quest improved everything. The graphics might look similar since they were pre-rendered again, but the added fog and lighting effects made it even more impressive for a 16-bit cartridge. In what seemed like a risky decision, Donkey was no longer the main character. Now we controlled Diddy and his new partner, Dixie, who could glide using her long ponytail. This sequel was a bit harder, partly because it was longer, with more complex levels and tons of collectibles. Some even required to access hidden areas. There were also new animal buddies with new mechanics. My favorite was the spider, who could create platforms to jump on, and the parrot. When a series isn't originally designed to have sequels, which is often the case with video games, the third entry can sometimes feel like it's stretching success too far. For me, Mega Man X3 is an example of that. Not a bad game, but not on the same level as the others. So if Donkey Kong Country is truly the best 16-bit trilogy, its third game had to prove it, and it did. By the time Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble, came out in late 1996, competition in the pre-rendered graphics department had grown, with Vector Man 2 and Sonic 3D Blast. But Rare was still the one to beat. After playing the first two games to death, the visuals of this one still managed to surprise me. I loved the new backgrounds, especially the waterfalls, and the characters looked smoother and more fluidly animated. A new playable character was introduced, Little Kitty Kong, and once again, the main hero changed. This time, it was Dixie's turn, and I noticed the controls felt tighter, less slippery, which made the gameplay even more enjoyable. They also added NPCs in each area, the Bear Brothers, who introduced a new gameplay mechanic that reminded me of RPG side quests. One character needed something another was selling in a different area, and you needed coins to trade. It was fun and added even more depth to the experience. There were also new mounts. My favorite was the elephant that could suck up water with its trunk and shoot it. As well as vehicles in the overworld, new collectibles, longer and more complex levels, and more. Some people said it was just more of the same, but they were totally confused. Maybe it didn't surpass the second game, but it definitely expanded and refined the Donkey Kong Country experience. And that's why I have such devotion to this trilogy. All three are masterpieces, and I don't think there's another trilogy quite like it. I did think about the first three Mario games in Super Mario All-Stars. But the weaker second entry made me lean toward Donkey Kong. I also considered the Sonic games on Genesis. But since Sonic and Knuckles was technically separate and not part of Sonic 3, it's hard to count them as a single trilogy. In the end, Donkey Kong Country is, for me, a saga full of truly great games, ones that I still enjoy playing to this day. And on the Super Nintendo, it had the best trilogy of them all. Well, that's it for this video, and my thoughts on why Donkey Kong Country is the best 16-bit trilogy ever made. Now I'd love to know your opinion. Did you play any of these games? Did you enjoy them? Let me know down in the comments. Before I go, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you love classic games, and hit the bell icon so YouTube lets you know when I upload my next video, which will be very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.